Hi, my name's Rebecca Rylands. I'm going to read to you the chapter that I've written for the Women Making a Difference book. My chapter is called Identity, Music and Self-Care, three things very close to my heart. I hope that you enjoy our potential to make a difference. I'm a woman making a difference, and I wake up with the potential to make a difference every day. More often than not, throughout my career, I've chosen to do things that help others. My capacity to support others evolves to match incoming stressors, changing seasons, and roles. But ultimately, prioritizing my own well-being today helps my future self and my loved ones. This is the greatest lesson I've learned working as a helping professional. Self-care is an essential requirement. Professionally, I've been a music teacher, counsellor, music therapist, and lecturer. Personally, I've known the heartaches that come with love and loss. I've moved from New Zealand to Australia and birthed 3 children. I've attempted to find a work-life balance and learned to roll with change. I value bravery over striving for perfection. If I'd waited for perfect conditions before taking off, I'd still be on the runway. Discovering where and how I would make a difference took a while. I would ask myself, what can I do? And in times of doubt and exhaustion, the simple answer has been, do what I can. I've become more aware of my strengths and limitations, and by acknowledging and working with them, I can grow compassion for myself and others. I try to read my energy levels, reduce energy zapping tasks where possible, and choose the right jobs at the right times throughout the day. I make conscious decisions to pursue passions that inspire me and offer encouragement, hope, and ideas that work for me, an imperfect person doing her best. The paths of music and counselling. I've often been curious about social development and activities that help create community. I've worked in schools where bullying and social anxieties were common in the therapy room. Our need to belong is so deep within us that at times we can avoid living fully, afraid of what others might think of us. Still, we risk failure and loss, called to continue to love and trust. The saying we are made stronger by being tempered in fire resonates with me. I've walked knowingly and unknowingly into risky situations. Some developed good outcomes. From others, I've walked away with a heavy heart when things didn't go as I'd hoped. Moments of failure have taught me to pivot, growing my capacity and revealing the biggest lessons of my life. There I was, a stubborn 24-year-old, straight out of teachers' college and running a music program at a large urban high school. It was a good job. I wasn't exactly sure how I'd gotten it, but I was determined to do my best by the students. I wanted to stay for at least 2 years so I could gain my registration. After 2 years, I then planned to stay for 5 because I wanted to leave the department's resources and culture in a better state than how I'd found it. I had success as a teacher, but struggled to feel capable of this posting. I continued anyway, growing my skills and sharing my gifts in a job that was rewarding, though stressful. I experienced the tension between the desire to make a meaningful difference to up to 30 students in each class and how to look after myself. Sometimes I felt my efforts paid off. Other times, the volume of others' needs was overwhelming. To continue to work with young people and make them feel better about themselves, their lives, and their futures, I undertook master's level qualifications and a counselling training program. From my experience volunteering at a helpline service that offered free support to young people, I discovered I had the uncanny skill of staying calm in the face of a crisis. So I pursued 2 years of part-time study on top of my full-time teacher load. My weekends were overtaken by study. I dug deep, making sacrifices to get things done, and teetered on the verge of burnout. I pushed on through, waiting for school holidays to arrive. In my second year of part-time study, I successfully applied for a scholarship to dedicate a year to study and complete my placement hours. My master's portfolio required a research project, so I committed to what had the most relevance and truth for me after 5 years as a music teacher. Career transition to a therapist. For eons, people from every corner of the earth have used music and ceremony to move through life's transitions. Music can make people feel good, safe, happy, heard, and seen. For my research, I applied an evidence-based approach to group music making with teenagers. When I discovered the use of drum circles combined with group therapy, I headed to Australia to train in a program widespread throughout the school system there. I returned to New Zealand and got funding for 12 drums, learning how to facilitate drum therapy groups. With the group therapy facilitation skills gained through the helpline, I could provide a space that was engaging, smoother, light, and at times profoundly deep. After my first pilot group was complete, I started my research group. I finished my master's with first-class honours and discovered I had a gift for working therapeutically with people in smaller groups. Despite the awards I received academically in high school, I did not feel very smart then and tried so hard to achieve success. Over time, I learned that effort can play a bigger role than talent as a predetermining factor for success. A year later, my Australian husband and I moved to his hometown, and the next part of my journey began. I took my first job as a school counsellor in Brisbane, and from there, I built my reputation and skills in schools and adult mental health settings until I was ready to launch out with a business of my own. Music therapy and mental health. Initially, creating a business from what I love was slow, but then I found myself working simultaneous gigs for as many hours as a full-time employee. After a little while, I realised I needed to be more discerning about what I took on and look out for myself. Among conflicting pressures, I'm a little easier on myself these days. Thankfully, I've discovered new opportunities through the drumming program that trained me, including facilitating accredited workshops for practitioners who also want to become facilitators to use the approach with their clients. This work has given me a couple of experiences that demonstrate the profound difference music can make. I enter aged care facilities regularly now to run music therapy sessions, and the most interesting space for me is in the dementia unit. Nervous the first time I went in, I wondered if I had the skills. However, I noticed that the staff members were delighted to see the residents engaged in this activity and enjoying a moment together. For some participants, I saw their memories taking them back to a moment in their youth. Music has such power. It's embedded deep in the brain where we make memories associated with feelings. Participating in music-making experiences is a whole brain activity. We look at what people around us are doing. We hear what they're doing and respond to it. We live in the moment, on the spot. And sometimes mistakes happen. Occasionally, I've witnessed participants experience anxiety as they drum for the first time. Some come with previous experiences that make them feel insecure about their musical skills. Others identify as musically experienced with other instruments and may have difficulty letting go, becoming learners again. When I present rhythm-based exercises, people commonly express fear that they might do the exercise incorrectly. To build capacity in new growth areas, we need to feel the fear, stay with it for a moment to acknowledge if there is actual danger or not, and normalize the sensation of anxiety as a helpful part of the brain's warning system. Like a security alarm protecting a car, sometimes the alarm is set off by something. Until we're able to assess the situation, we remain on high alert to danger. Once the level of threat is determined, we can respond appropriately. If we don't push past the fear and experience new things, our world can atrophy. I support people as they ride the wave of anxiety and come out the other side, looking exhilarated after trying drumming in a supportive group setting. I get consistent feedback at the end of workshops that the drumming was highly enjoyable. They had fun. Dopamine is released, and it doesn't matter if they didn't get it right, because we can learn and try again. The beauty of music as a metaphor for life is that it's a safe way to explore perfectionism, performance anxiety, and concepts of social support. Neurodiversity and drumming for relaxation. I used to think I needed to be perfect as a musician and wondered if I'd ever get there. I practiced bass guitar 8 hours a day, trying to be the best bass player I could in rock bands in my early 20s. I could never attain that perfection, although there are perfect moments in music. Music is always moving and changing, just like we humans are always in transition. When we appreciate that moment, when we hear a sound start, we also know it begins to fade away, a little bit like life. The neurodiversity community is another community profoundly impacted by music therapy, and I feel I have personal insight here. Over time, I've realized that my brain works differently, and I'm okay with myself, quirks and all. But when I've explored ADHD and executive function, I see some of my personal struggles. Such revelations are less heavy and less stigmatized than they were when I was growing up. My journey gives me a greater capacity to understand and connect with individuals who have similar experiences. Perhaps I work with someone who struggles to be on time. Perhaps it's having all their paperwork done or just getting themselves organised with their clothes folded and put away. At my house, my clothes are not always folded and put away either, but I have strengths in other areas. Once I was working with a group of 11 to 13-year-old girl students who identified as neurodivergent. Girls are often less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD and are considered better at masking it. Through the group drumming experience, some of the participants expressed how they were able to experience relaxation and that they could be themselves without feeling judged. They were playful without getting into trouble. Even at this young age, these girls felt the world's pressures to perform, to be perfect, to do well academically, and to be liked. But after they drummed together, they experienced a sense of safety and connection. Within that setting, the drumming equalizes things that may have felt disparate. Different backgrounds and all the unknowns disappear when people make music together. Music adds to a group's cohesiveness and sticks communities together like glue. Throughout this experience, I've gone from assessing people on how good they are at music to accepting people wherever they are on their musical journey, and that is so much more satisfying for me. Perhaps some of them will go on to become professional musicians, but that's not my goal. I want to see people enjoying making music in the moment, safely being themselves, dropping masks and being accepted. It's my pleasure and privilege to witness such dramatic shifts in a short time during a therapeutic drumming session. Pregnancy and professional growth. At a point in my career when I had gained peer recognition, I travelled overseas and trained several new facilitators. At 30 weeks pregnant, I felt fit, healthy, and capable of delivering such a session. I had spoken with the developer of the program about my pregnancy, and he said he wanted to move the date forward a few weeks for peace of mind. Drumming is known to kickstart labour, and he wanted to mitigate that risk. While away, I spoke with my children and husband nightly by phone and read my daughter a chapter of a book she had chosen until she fell asleep. Trying to be available for my family while holding space for others to learn and heal was exhausting. Still, keeping some of our family routines alive was necessary, even when I was out of the country. Balance is a changing affair, and as my children grow up, they will no longer request bedtime reading, and my work commitments will shift. The flexibility to pivot within my career and acclimatise to changes has been critical for my success. Throughout the challenges, I'm still here. I naturally find it easier to do things for others, which could be seen as altruistic, but it also grows my self-worth when my work is appreciated. Being a born helper can be a blessing, but can also lead to burnout when we have difficulties in valuing our own needs. I've learned that if there is an imbalance between giving and receiving, we can experience overwhelm and emotional reactivity. Drumming, like many creative and expressive therapies, helps me to regulate my emotions. Experiencing a relaxed state regularly counteracts the tension, stress, and the anxieties of modern life. By following my passions, I am the real me in all of my endeavours. I continue to work on my self-care and reflective practices, which are exactly that, practice, not perfect. If I can, I would encourage you to act today. Find what makes your heart sing and be willing to do whatever that is with messy abandon. Later, you can hone your skills and package them up neatly to help others. Serve your own soul first and get ready to unleash your latent potentiality. For me, taking the leap to share my own journey has connected me with others on similar and intersecting paths. I believe the more we share our passions, celebrate our wins, and learn from our failures, the more we can lift each other up. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that, and get in touch if anything in this spoke to you.